You might think Disneyland is a place of pure joy and magic, but beneath the bright lights, something darker lurks. What if I told you that behind those cheerful smiles and colorful rides, there are secrets that could shatter your innocence? Today, we're peeling back the curtain on a haunting story of trauma, manipulation, and silent rebellion, one that exposes the true cost of paradise. Two girls arrived at Disneyland, broken and silent, carrying wounds no one could see. And what happened next will leave you speechless. The darkness they faced isn't just part of the story, it's at the core of how this fairy tale unravels. And there's a shocking twist you won't see coming, one that reveals the hidden horrors lurking behind the magic. If you're ready to uncover what truly lies beneath that enchanted facade, hit the like button now and drop a comment. Tell me where you're watching from, because this story is about to change everything you thought you knew about happiness, innocence, and justice. I woke up feeling strange. The sunlight was bright, but I didn't feel happy. My sister Mira was sleeping next to me, still quiet. Our parents had taken us to Disneyland. They said it was a special place, full of magic. But something felt wrong today. We arrived earlier in the morning. The park was full of bright colors and loud music. Everywhere, people smiled and waved. We saw big castles, funny characters, and colorful floats. Kids laughed and played, but Mira and I just watched. A woman came to us. She wore a white coat and had kind eyes. She said her name was Mrs. Gray. Another woman, Miss Bell, was with her. They said they were nurses. They looked caring, but I could see something strange in their faces. They seemed too eager to help, too eager to make us smile. "Hi, girls," Mrs. Gray said softly. "We're here to help you have fun today." Mira looked at her with big, sad eyes. I felt tired and heavy inside. We didn't say anything. We just nodded. Then a man appeared. His name was Tom. He worked at Disneyland. He had a big smile and bright eyes. He knelt down to us and waved a magic wand. "Let's make some magic," he said with a smile. He sprinkled some glitter in the air, pretending to do magic. But I saw Mira's hands trembling. She didn't look happy. Her eyes were empty, like she was lost inside her mind. We walked behind the big castles and colorful rides. The nurses kept trying to cheer us up. They took pictures of us smiling. They gave us small gifts, bright balloons and stuffed animals. But I didn't want any of it. I looked at Mira. She was very still. Her face wasn't happy. She looked like she was far away. I felt a strange anger inside me. Why were they trying so hard to make us smile? Were they really here to help us, or was something else going on? The parade started. Big floats moved slowly with cheerful music. Mickey Mouse and his friends danced and waved. People clapped and cheered, but I didn't feel happy. I felt cold inside. Mira looked at me. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry out loud. She just looked at the ground. I wanted to say something, but no words came. Suddenly, I saw a flower, a bright red rose, on a display. It was pretty, but also sad. I reached out and gently touched it. I held it in my hand. It was soft and fragile. In that moment, I decided I wouldn't pretend anymore. I wouldn't fake a smile to make others happy. I would show how I really felt. I looked at the rose, then at the nurses. I didn't say a word. I just quietly picked the rose from the display and held it tight. My hand shook a little. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just looked at the rose and thought about my mother. Mira saw what I did. She didn't say anything either. She just held my hand. We were both silent. Maybe silence was better now. Maybe it was stronger than words. We didn't need to pretend anymore. We just needed to be honest about how we felt. That was the first step. The first moment when we started to see the truth behind the bright lights and happy faces. And I knew, deep inside, that this day was only the beginning. I looked around as we walked through Disneyland. The bright colors and happy music were everywhere, but I didn't feel happy. Mira was quiet, just walking behind me. Her face looked tired and empty. I felt a strange mixture of anger and sadness inside me. 2 women followed us. They wore white nurse uniforms. Their faces looked kind, but I didn't trust them. One was Mrs. Gray, and the other was Miss Bell. They held our hands gently but firmly. They kept telling us to smile and look happy. "Come on, girls," Mrs. Gray said softly. "It's a special day. Let's take some pictures." Mira didn't answer. She just looked down at her shoes. I felt like I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just kept walking. I saw a big display of flowers, and I remembered the rose I took last time. I felt a little angry. I wanted to hide how I really felt. The nurses kept pushing us to laugh and smile. They said, "Say cheese," but I didn't feel like smiling. I looked at Mira. She looked like she was in a fog. Her eyes didn't show anything. She was just there, moving without words. Tom, a young park worker, came near. He was trying to make us laugh. He waved a magic wand and whispered, "Look here," with a big grin. He thought he was making us happy, but I didn't smile. I just stared at him, feeling cold inside. Mira finally looked at Tom. She blinked slowly, her eyes glassy. She was so quiet that I wondered if she was okay. I wanted to help her, but didn't know how. The nurses saw us. Miss Bell smiled too wide. "You girls are so brave," she said. "Soon, you'll forget all your worries. Disneyland is magic." But I didn't believe her. Nothing about this felt magic. It just felt wrong. We kept walking past the rides and stands. I saw a big Mickey Mouse float, shining brightly. Mickey's face looked happy, but I wondered if it was just a mask, a fake smile hiding something dark underneath. As we moved along, I remembered the rose I had taken before. I looked at the flowers again, my fingers clenched tightly around the stem of a wilted pink rose I saw on a display. I didn't speak. I just reached out and carefully picked it up. The nurses didn't notice at first, but I held the rose close to my chest. It felt heavy and real in my hand. My heart was pounding. For a moment, I wanted to shout, to tell everyone how I really felt, but I stayed silent. I looked at Mira. She was still quiet, but I saw her eyes flicker. Maybe she was starting to understand. Maybe she was feeling what I was feeling too. We reached the fountain with the big, colorful statue. The water sparkled in the sunlight, but I didn't feel like playing. I wanted to stay quiet. I wanted to hold my feelings inside. The parade started. Characters in bright costumes danced and sang. Mickey and friends waved from floats. Everything looked so cheerful. But I saw something strange. Their faces seemed a little blank, a little hollow. Their big smiles didn't reach their eyes. I took a small step away from the parade. I didn't want to pretend anymore. I looked at the wilted rose in my hand. I thought about my mother. I missed her so much. I wanted her to see I was still here, still strong. Then I did something I never thought I would do. I quietly reached out and plucked a real, fresh flower from a display. A red rose, her favorite. I didn't say anything. I just held it tight. Mira looked at me. She didn't ask why. She understood. We didn't need words. Our silence spoke for us. The nurses noticed us. Mrs. Gray frowned a little. Ms. Bell looked surprised. They tried to come closer, but I stayed still. I kept holding the rose, feeling its soft petals in my hand. In that moment, I decided I wouldn't wear their fake smiles anymore. I wouldn't pretend that everything was okay when it wasn't. I wanted to show that I was angry and sad. And that was okay. We moved away from the parade. The cheerful masks of Disneyland seemed to crack. I saw cracks in the big Mickey float, and behind it, I wondered what secrets lay beneath the bright colors. Mira and I kept walking. We didn't talk. We just looked at everything around us. The park was pretending to be happy, but I knew the truth inside. I looked at the rose again. It was old and wilting, just like how I felt. But it was real. It was mine. And I knew deep down that I didn't have to hide my feelings. I could be silent and still be strong. Sometimes, silence is the best way to tell the truth. As we walked away, I held the rose close. The park's magic was just a mask. The real magic was in knowing who you are inside, even when the world tries to make you forget. And I promised myself I would never forget the truth. I looked at Mira. She was quiet, just like me. We stood in the middle of Disneyland, but everything felt strange. The bright colors and happy music did not make us feel happy. Instead, it made us feel tired and sad inside. The nurses, Mrs. Gray and Ms. Bell, smiled and looked busy. They kept telling us to smile for pictures. They gave us small toys and candy, but I didn't want any. Mira didn't look at them much. She looked at the ground, holding her hands tight. Tom, the park worker, came over. He was trying to make us smile. He waved a magic wand and said, "Look, magic, feel happy now." But I saw that Mira's eyes were full of tears. She didn't smile. I felt the same way. Suddenly, I remembered something. I looked around to see if I could find a real flower. I wanted something real, something that was not fake like the smiles or the toys. I saw a small flower display nearby. There were many flowers, but I saw a bright red rose. It looked different from the rest. I quietly tiptoed over and reached out. I plucked the rose from the display. It felt soft and real in my hand. Mira saw me. She looked surprised. I didn't speak. I just held the rose tightly. It made me feel strong, like I was saying something important without words. I looked at the rose and then at Mira. We both knew that this flower was special. It was not for show. It was real. It was something that mattered. The parade started. Mickey and his friends danced and sang. They wore big smiles and colorful costumes. But I noticed something strange. Their faces looked too perfect, like masks. They seemed happy, but it was not real happiness. It was just pretending. I looked at Mira again. She held her hands near her chest, and her face was quiet. I wanted to do something more. I wanted to show that I was angry and sad, but I couldn't say it out loud. So I decided to stay silent. I didn't smile for the camera. I didn't wave back at Mickey. Instead, I just looked at the rose in my hand and felt my feelings grow stronger. I slowly lifted the rose in front of me. I looked at the parade and everyone around me. I felt like I was saying, "This is real. This pain is real. I am not happy because I want to forget what happened. I want everyone to see the truth." Mira saw what I was doing. She nodded slightly. She understood. We didn't need words. Our silence was our strength. We stayed quiet as the parade went by. The cheerful masks of the characters seemed to crack. Behind their smiles, I saw shadows and wounds. I knew that the happiness was just a disguise. That moment felt heavy, but also brave. We were not going to pretend anymore. We chose to keep the truth inside us. We picked the rose, not to forget, but to remember what was real. As we turned to walk away from the parade, I kept the rose in my hand. It was a small, simple thing, but it meant everything. It was our way to stand against the fake smiles and pretend happiness. And in my heart, I knew this was only the beginning. We would remember what happened. We would find our strength. And maybe, one day, the truth would be more important than any magic show. That was how I felt on that day. Quiet, sad, but also brave. Because sometimes, saying nothing is the loudest way to protest. I watched Lena as she stood very still, her hand held tight around the rose. She didn't look at anyone. She just looked at the flower, her face full of sadness and anger. Mira was close by, watching her sister. I could see in Mira's eyes that she was starting to understand something important. Lena slowly lifted the rose. She didn't say a word. She didn't smile or pretend to be happy. She just held the flower close and looked at it. To her, this rose was real. It was something that mattered. It was her way of showing she was upset about what was happening. The people around her kept trying to make her smile. The nurses, Mrs. Gray and Ms. Bell, came closer. They smiled fake smiles. They said, "Come on, Lena, look at this. Isn't it fun? Let's take a picture." Their voices sounded cheerful, but I could tell they wanted her to pretend everything was okay. They wanted her to look happy for the park's visitors. But Lena didn't move. She didn't respond. She just held the rose and looked at it. Her face stayed serious. She refused to act happy. That silent act was suddenly very loud. It said, "I am sad. I am upset. I don't want to lie anymore." Mira looked at her sister. Then she looked at me. I saw that Mira was starting to understand. She saw that Lena's silence was her way of fighting back. It was her way of saying, I won't pretend for your smiles. The parade was starting. The cheerful characters, Mickey, Minnie, and the others began to dance and wave. They looked bright and happy, but something was strange. Their faces didn't look real. They looked cracked, like they were breaking apart inside. Their big smiles hid dark shadows behind them. I felt a chill run down my back. I realized that beneath all the masks, there was something wrong. The happy show was hiding pain and hurt. The park's magic was just a mask, a lie to hide the truth. Lena kept holding the rose. She didn't speak. She didn't cry. She just stood very still, feeling her own feelings. Her silence was loud. It was her way of telling everyone that she was tired of pretending. Mira moved closer to her sister. She reached out and gently touched Lena's hand. She didn't say a word either. She just looked at her sister and nodded. They both knew that things weren't right, and they didn't want to forget that. As the parade played on, I saw that the masks of the cheerful characters kept breaking. Behind their smiles, I saw the truth. The pain, the sadness, the suffering. It was all there. But no one saw it, because they only wanted to see happiness. Lena's silent act was powerful. It showed that sometimes words are not enough. Sometimes you need to show your feelings without saying anything. Her holding the rose was her way of saying, I am upset and I won't hide it anymore. I felt a new respect for her. She was brave. She was saying no to the fake joy that everyone wanted her to have. She was standing up for what she believed was real. That moment stayed with me. It made me think about how important it is to be honest about feelings. Sometimes, the world tries to make us pretend everything is fine, but deep inside, we all have feelings that need to be seen and heard. Lena's silent rebellion was just beginning. I knew that she would keep fighting in her own quiet way. And maybe, just maybe, her act of holding the rose would help others see the truth too. In that silent moment, I understood one thing clearly. Real strength comes from being true to yourself. Even if the masks fall apart, what's real inside can never be taken away. I looked at Lena. She was holding a small, wilted rose in her hand. The flower was red, just like the ones in her mother's favorite garden. She didn't say a word. She just looked at the rose, her face sad and serious. Mira was next to her. She was quiet too. Her eyes looked tired, like she was trying to hide her pain. We had been at Disneyland for a little while now. The park was bright and busy, full of laughter, music, and cheerful characters. But I could see that behind the happy faces, something was wrong. Mrs. Gray and Miss Bell, the nurses, were smiling and talking loudly to the girls. They kept trying to make us laugh, to take pictures, and give us gifts. But I saw how Lena didn't smile. She kept her hands tight on the rose, her eyes staring at it. The nurses didn't seem to notice or care. They just wanted us to look happy, for the visitors. Mrs. Gray whispered to Miss Bell, "We need to make sure they perform well for the cameras." I didn't understand everything, but I knew they were trying to use the girls' sadness to make money. That made me feel angry inside. Suddenly, I remembered the moment when Lena had taken the rose. I saw her do it slowly, quietly. She didn't grab it or push it away. She just reached out and picked it from a display. It was a real flower, not one made of plastic, like most of the decorations. Lena looked at the rose carefully. Her face was serious, like she was saying something without words. To me, it looked like she was saying, "No more fake happiness, no more pretending." Mira noticed too. She looked at Lena and then at the nurses. She seemed to understand that her sister was trying to show something important. I stepped closer to Lena. I wanted to say something, but I knew she didn't want to talk. Instead, I gently touched her shoulder. She looked at me and gave a small nod. That moment felt heavy. It was like a quiet protest, a way of saying, "I am tired of pretending." Lena's silent act was strong. It was her way of fighting back against the false smiles and fake joy that the park wanted. The parade was still going on. Mickey and his friends danced and cheered, but to us, they looked different. Their bright costumes seemed dull, their smiles too big. It was like they were hiding something terrible inside. I looked around and realized that the masks of Disneyland, the fake happiness, were starting to crack. The true feelings of sadness and anger were spilling out, even if no one was talking about it. Lena still held the wilted rose. She didn't speak or smile. She just stood quietly, holding her grief in her hand. That small act was more powerful than any loud shout. I knew that day we had taken another step. We were starting to see the truth behind the happy mask. We saw that sometimes pretending to be happy can hide real pain, and that silence can be a way to stand against unfairness. As we walked away from the busy park, I felt a little stronger. Lena's silent protest stayed with me. It was a reminder that sometimes words aren't enough. Sometimes not saying anything can speak the loudest. We didn't need to yell or fight right then. We just needed to stay true to how we felt. And that, I thought, was the first small victory in this dark story. And somewhere deep inside, I hoped that one day the truth would come out and everyone would see that real pain can't be hidden forever. But for now, Lena's quiet stand was enough to keep our hope alive. I walked through Disneyland, feeling a strange mix of feelings inside me. I see the bright lights, the happy music, and the smiling faces of the parade characters. But inside, I feel heavy and cold. I look at Mira, who is walking beside me. She is quiet, just like me. We both know something is wrong, but we don't say it out loud. Mrs. Gray and Miss Bell are with us. They are smiling, but I can tell they are only pretending. They want us to look happy, so people will give them applause and money. They keep telling us to smile more, to take pictures, to pretend to enjoy ourselves. But I don't want to pretend. I don't want to smile when my heart is breaking. Tom, the park worker, tries to cheer us up. He shows us magic tricks, makes flowers appear, and laughs. He thinks he's helping, but he doesn't see what's really happening. He doesn't know how much pain we carry inside. It's hard to stay quiet. Sometimes I want to scream or cry, but I hold it in. Mira looks at me and sees my face. She knows I am feeling the same sadness she feels. We don't talk much, but I can see she is starting to understand me. Suddenly, I see a small flower shop. There are many beautiful flowers in vases. I walk toward it quietly. I see a rose, deep red and sad-looking. I reach out and gently pick the rose. I hold it tightly in my hand, feeling the soft petals. The rose is a symbol, something real and honest. It's not fake, like the smiles around us. Mira looks at me. She doesn't say anything. She understands what I am doing. I don't smile. I don't speak. I just hold the wilted rose close to my chest. It's my silent way of saying, I am angry and sad. I am tired of pretending that everything is fine. People pass by, smiling and laughing. The parade floats go past, filled with cheerful characters like Mickey Mouse and friends. They wave and shout, "Have a magical day." But I see behind their masks. I see the cracks. I see the blood and pain hidden under their smiles. As the parade moves forward, I feel a strange urge. I want to show that I am not happy. I want to tell the world that I am hurting. I stand very still, holding the rose. I look at the crowd, and I refuse to pretend anymore. It's a small act, but it feels big inside me. It's my way of saying, this is my truth. I don't want to be part of a fake world anymore. I want people to see what's real. I want them to know that not everyone is happy inside. Mira comes close and touches my hand. She understands. We are silent together, sharing our pain. We don't need words. Our silence is strong. It is our protest. The park around us begins to feel strange. The bright lights seem dimmer. The happy music sounds hollow. The masks of the parade characters crack just a little. I see their faces underneath, wounded, tired, and real. I hold the wilted rose tight. My silent act is my way of fighting back. I won't smile just to make others happy. I won't pretend that everything is okay. I will keep my feelings inside and show my pain in my own way. This moment is important. It's a small rebellion against the fake happiness of Disneyland. It's my way of saying I am still here. I am still alive. I am still myself. As I stand there, I feel a little stronger. I know I can't change everything right now, but I can show that I am not broken. I can show that I am still real, even in a world full of masks. And so I keep the wilted rose in my hand. I walk forward with Mira. We may be quiet, but our hearts are loud. We are ready to face whatever comes next. We are ready to tell the truth in our own silent way. Because sometimes words are not enough. Sometimes silence says more than 1,000 screams. And in that silence, I find my strength. I walk behind the tall gates of Disneyland. The bright colors and loud music make everything look happy, but I feel different. My heart is heavy. Mira stands next to me. She is quiet, just like always. We are both tired and sad. Our eyes are empty. We don't smile. We don't talk. We just look. Mrs. Gray and Miss Bell, the nurses, follow us. They smile too much. They try to make us laugh, but it doesn't work. Their smiles feel fake. I know they want us to be happy for pictures and gifts, but inside, I feel cold and empty. Tom, a park worker, comes near us. He is smiling, but I see something in his eyes. He wants to help, but he doesn't understand everything. He tries to cheer us up with a little magic trick. He makes a coin disappear. "Look, isn't this fun?" he says. I look at Mira. She looks at the coin, but she doesn't smile. Her face is blank, just like always. Tom doesn't see her sadness. He only wants to make us happy for a little while. We walk toward a big flower display. There are many bright flowers. I see a rose, deep red and perfect. I remember my mother loved roses. I step closer. Without thinking, I reach out and pick the biggest rose. Mira looks at me. She doesn't say anything. She just watches. I hold the rose very tight. The petals are soft. I want to keep it because it reminds me of my mother. It feels real, not fake like the smiles all around us. Suddenly, I stop. I don't want to pretend anymore. I want to show what I really feel. I hold the wilted rose in my hand. It's soft and a little sad. It's not perfect anymore. It's broken, like me and Mira. I don't say a word. I just stand there. I look at the rose, then at the crowd of people, all smiling and laughing. I feel the truth inside me. I feel anger and sadness. I want to scream, but I don't. I stay silent. Mira steps closer. She sees the wilted rose in my hand. I see her start to understand. She understands that I am not happy with fake smiles. I am tired of pretending. I want to be real. The parade begins. Mickey Mouse and his friends dance and sing. The music is loud. The people cheer. But I see something strange. The faces of the parade characters are not happy. They look tired or sad. Some have shadows and dark spots on their masks. I realize something important. Even the happiest place on earth is not really happy. It is a mask. It hides something darker underneath. The real pain, the real sadness. I stand still. Mira stays next to me. We don't move. We just look at everything around us. I hold the wilted rose tight. It's my silent way of saying, I am not okay with this fake happiness. I want the truth. Nobody notices us. They are too busy with the parade and the bright lights. Inside, I feel stronger. I know I don't want to wear a mask anymore. I want to show what I really feel, even if it makes me different. In that moment, I decide I will keep this silent protest. I will not smile for pictures or pretend to be happy. I will remember my mother and her roses, and I will be brave. The park may look happy outside, but I know the truth now. No one can hide pain forever, and sometimes silent strength is the bravest thing of all. I tighten my grip on the wilted rose. I take a deep breath. I feel the weight of my feelings. I know this is the start of something new, a quiet rebellion, a way to keep my mother's memory alive. And even in a place filled with masks and lies, I will stay true to what I feel inside. I will not forget the truth. I will be silent, but strong. I stood very still. I held the wilted rose tightly in my hand. The park around me was full of bright colors and big smiles, but I felt cold inside. Everything looked happy, but I knew it was not real. Today I decided to say no in my own way. No words, just silence. No fake smiles. I would show my feelings without talking. I wanted the world to see the truth behind the masks. The parade was starting. Big floats moved slowly through the street. Mickey and his friends smiled wide, waving at everyone. They looked so happy, but I saw something strange. Their faces looked tired and sad, hidden beneath their big smiles, like they were hiding their real feelings. I took a step forward. I moved closer to the parade route. Mira was right beside me, quiet and watching. She looked at me with big eyes. She understood that I was doing something important. I reached out and gently took a real flower from a flower stand. It was a fresh, bright rose. It looked like a symbol of real feelings. I didn't speak. I just looked at the rose and held it close to my heart. I didn't smile. I didn't pretend to be happy. I just stood there, holding the rose like a quiet protest. The people around us kept laughing and clapping, but I felt like I was saying something much louder than words. The parade characters looked at me. Their painted faces cracked a little. Some of them looked surprised. For a moment, the cheerful masks slipped, and I saw their real eyes, tired, sad, and empty. Mira reached out and touched my arm softly. She nodded. We both understood. We didn't need to talk. Our silence was powerful. The nurse figures, Mrs. Gray and Ms. Bell, came near us. They looked worried. They tried to ask us to smile, to pretend to be happy for the cameras. But I didn't move. I just held the rose tight and stared straight ahead. Suddenly, I remembered. This rose had come from my mother's favorite garden. When she was alive, she loved roses. She told me they were beautiful and strong, even when they are wilting. Now I was holding this rose as a symbol of my true feelings, a symbol that I was not happy, not pretending anymore. I was showing everyone that this park's happy masks could not hide what I truly felt. My silence made the nurses step back. They looked surprised and maybe a little afraid. They wanted us to be happy, to join the fake laughter. But I knew that real feelings could not be forced. Mira looked at me with admiration. She seemed to understand that I was doing something brave. I knew she felt the same way. We didn't need words to say what was in our hearts. The parade moved on. Mickey and his friends kept smiling, but their masks were cracking more. Behind the smiles, I saw pain. I saw the truth. We weren't going to pretend anymore. I looked at the wilted rose in my hand. It was old and drooping, just like our feelings, but it was real. It was ours. I took a deep breath. I felt stronger inside. Even in this bright, busy park, I was standing up for my feelings. I was showing that some wounds cannot be hidden, even under the biggest smiles. As the parade went past, I slowly lowered the rose. I didn't need to hold it anymore. I had said everything I needed to say with my silence. Mira held my hand. We turned away from the parade and walked quietly. We didn't need to talk. Our hearts were loud enough. That day, I learned something very important. Sometimes the best way to fight a lie is to show the truth in silence, to show that real feelings are stronger than fake happiness. And I knew, deep inside, that our silence was a small but powerful act of courage, a way to remind everyone that pain and sadness are real, and they should never be hidden behind masks of happiness. We walked away from Disneyland that day, carrying our scars and our truth. The masks had cracked, and the real story was finally coming out. I stood in the middle of the park, feeling the weight of everything that had happened. The bright lights and happy music still played, but I saw through the fake smiles. I saw the cracks beneath the masks of the parade characters. The masks looked happy, but their eyes showed something else: hurt, sadness, pain. Mira was close by. She looked at me with her quiet eyes. She understood what I was about to do. It was a small, simple act, but it felt very big to me. I looked at the display of flowers. There was a beautiful, bright rose. It was my mother's favorite flower. I remembered how she loved it. I reached out and gently took the wilted rose from the display. I held it tightly in my hand. I didn't smile. I didn't say a word. I just looked at the rose and thought about my mother. I knew what I was doing was important. It was my way of saying that I was tired of pretending to be happy when I was not. Mira watched me quietly. She saw I was not going to smile or act happy. She nodded once, very softly. It was like she was saying, "I understand." Suddenly, I felt something change. The cheerful music and bright lights didn't seem so real anymore. The smiles of the parade characters looked strange, like they were trying too hard. Their masks cracked a little more, showing the blood and scars behind the happy faces. I held the wilted rose close to my chest. It was not perfect. It was not bright and new, but it was real, just like my feelings, just like my grief. In that moment, I knew I was not alone. Mira was with me, and I was starting to see the truth. The happiness the park showed was only a mask. The real pain was hidden underneath. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. My silence was loud. It told the world that I would not hide my pain anymore. I would not pretend to be happy when I was broken inside. The park around us grew quieter for a moment. The masks on the parade characters cracked even more. Some of them looked angry. Some looked sad. They were tired of hiding the truth too. I looked at Mira and then back at the wilted rose. I felt a small spark inside me, a little bit of courage. I was tired of being a part of the fake happiness. I took a deep breath. I let the tears come quietly. I knew this moment was important. It was my way of saying, I am here. I am real. And I will not pretend anymore. The park kept going, but everything felt different. The masks were cracking wider now. The fake smiles couldn't hold on. The truth was coming out. In that quiet act, I found a little bit of freedom. I couldn't fix everything, but I could show that I was not afraid to be me. And that was enough for now. I walked slowly through the broken gates of Disneyland. The bright colors and smiling faces are gone. The park looks sad now. I feel tired and heavy inside. I hold the wilted rose tight in my hand. This was my mother's favorite flower. I keep it close because I want her to know I remember her, even here. Mira walks beside me. She looks at the ground and does not say a word. She is quiet, just like me. We came to this place because we thought it was magic. But now, I see the truth. It is not magic. It is a lie that hides pain and hurt. The nurses, Mrs. Gray and Miss Bell, are gone. They tried to make us smile. They wanted us to look happy so people would give them money. But I know now they only cared about making a profit. They did not see us as girls with feelings. They saw us as stories to sell. I think about the day we arrived. We were so sad and lost. Our hearts were heavy with grief. We wanted to forget our pain, but they pushed us to forget it too quickly. They wanted us to pretend everything was okay. They forced us to smile, to act happy, but inside, we were still hurting. Mira looks at the wilted rose in my hand. She touches it gently. I see sadness in her eyes. We both know that this park is not real happiness. It's just a mask that covers the blood and tears underneath. Suddenly, I remember what I did earlier. I reached out and took a real, old rose from a display stand. It was dusty and wilted. I held it in my hand and did not speak. That was my silent protest. I wanted to show that I do not want fake joy. I want to remember my mother. I want to feel my pain. Mira sees what I did. She nods slowly. We are both tired of pretending. We are tired of the lies. We want to be honest about what we feel. As we walk further, I see the parade floats. Mickey and his friends are still there, smiling and cheerful. But I notice something strange. Their faces are cracked, and I see shadows and blood behind their masks. The masks are breaking. The false happiness is falling apart. I do not want to smile anymore. I do not want to hide my sadness. I stop walking and stand still. I hold the wilted rose close to my chest. I look at the sky and take a deep breath. Then, I gently set the wilted rose on a small stone near the park entrance. I do not say a word. I just leave it there. It's my way of saying goodbye to my mother. It's my silent protest against the fake world that tries to hide pain. Mira picks up a small, real flower from the ground. She looks at me and then at the flower. We both understand. We do not need words to say we are tired of the lies. We want real feelings. We want truth. Suddenly, I remember something I overheard. The nurses were talking about selling stories and pictures for money. They did not care about us. They only cared about profit. I feel angry. I want everyone to know the truth. I want the world to see what is really happening here. The masks of the parade characters crack more. Their bright smiles fade away. Behind their masks, I see the blood and tears. The park's happiness is just a disguise. It is a lie. I look at Mira. She is quiet, but I see her strength. She is starting to understand that we do not have to hide our feelings. We do not have to pretend. We can be honest about our pain. I take one last look at Disneyland. I see the cracks in the masks. I feel the pain, but also a tiny spark of hope. We are not alone. We have each other. Our silence is our strength now. We will carry our pain, but we will also carry our courage. As we walk away from the park, I hold the wilted rose tight. I know the scars will stay with us forever, but I also know that truth is stronger than lies. Being honest about our feelings can make us stronger. We keep walking into the world outside. The sun is setting, casting shadows on the ground. The masks have fallen, and the real story is finally visible. Our story. And I realize something very important. Sometimes, the best way to heal is not to hide the pain. It is to face it, to accept it, and to keep going. Because even in the darkest moments, there can be a little light when we are brave enough to be true. I take a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill my lungs. I look at Mira, and she nods. We are ready to find our way now. No more pretending. No more hiding. Just honest hearts and quiet strength. Because we know that some wounds never fully go away, but we can carry them with dignity. We can remember what is real, and that is enough. We turn away from Disneyland's ruins. We walk into the world, ready to face whatever comes next. Our silence is our protest. Our truth is our power. And as the last light fades, I hold the wilted rose close again. Not as a symbol of sadness alone, but as a reminder that even in pain, there is strength. Even in silence, there is voice. This is the end of our story for now, but I know, deep inside, that our journey has just begun.